What's up, my peeps? Joshua Smithy with another GSD interview. Well, every single week, we interview top entrepreneurs, top realtors, top health and fitness professionals, and just people that are straight up dominating their space. So today, I've got an agent, a real estate agent, an entrepreneur that's on the call today. That's our guest today. Really excited to have this guy on. He's only been in the business for a couple of years, doing some massive big things in a very competitive market. So our guest today, Bryan Casella. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Josh, thank you for having me. I'm excited. I've been following your show for a while, so I'm definitely glad and happy to be here.
Yeah, no, stoked and honored, man. I put a post out there recently on Facebook just asking our guests and our listener base of, hey, who would you guys like to see on the show? And a couple people name dropped you, and so I got on your stuff, started watching some of your YouTube videos, and yeah, man, I mean, you're a young hustler. You're out there doing some really impressive things. So let's kind of get into that, dude. Like, what are you doing? Let's just talk about, okay, how long have you been in the business? What's that experience been like thus far? What's your average price point? What market are you in?
Cool. I've been in the business. I just finished my second year. I'm in Southern California. I'm right on the border of LA County and Orange County. So for anybody watching who knows the cities like La Habra, Hacienda Heights, Whittier, and you mentioned it earlier, I was told coming in that the market was really competitive. But the type of person I am, I said, you know what? Every space I've entered, I've dominated. So why not real estate? I really saw the opportunity, and I'm sure you did too, because you're killing it, that when you got in, a lot of agents are lazy. No one really puts themselves out there, and people don't want to take the time and do the nitty-gritty hard work, the blood, the sweat, the tears, to really become great. And I have an athletic background. I played basketball professionally for a few years. So when I got into real estate, all I did was I took that focus and discipline and just applied it to this. So, role-playing, practicing. I mean, when I started, I was probably role-playing 2 hours a day just to get my scripts and my dialogues right. So when I got my license, I'd already been training too. So I was a mile ahead of everybody else. I got my first listing within 2.5 weeks, and I just started crushing it. And one of the main things is just that mindset of, you know what, I'm going to dominate whatever space I enter. I'm going to fill it all up and just go from there. And that's really what's carried me, to be honest with you.
So before we get into what you're doing and what you do to dominate your space and have the success that you've had, I know you kind of alluded to it of playing professional basketball for a few years before you got your real estate license. Because you could win a lot of different ways at that point. You could have jumped into corporate America, probably could have become a basketball coach. What got you into real estate, dude?
Well, to be honest, I stopped playing because of injuries, to make a long story short. And when I got back to the States, because I was in Spain, I said, you know what, I need to find something, because I was one of those people that was obsessed with basketball. I'd go to sleep with the ball. When people were partying and going out on vacation, I was in the gym. I mean, I was just a total workhorse, and that's really what carried me to that level. And I thought, man, I can't think of anything else right now that is really going to fill that passion, just that. I felt like I had a big void inside of me, like, man, what am I going to do? And I just started looking into entrepreneurial things, because I know business-wise, being an entrepreneur is basically like basketball. You're going to get in, you're going to get out what you put in. So I know a buddy of mine who, his dad's a broker. I thought, you know what? I just started researching. Real estate is commission-based. Heard you can make a lot of money. You see all the TV shows about $1 million listing. I was like, you know what? I've never done sales, but I think I can go in and really do well. So I just contacted him. And again, long story short, I started just going to offices, and I was like, you know what? It seems like people just aren't putting in that effort. And coming from basketball, it didn't make sense to me, because everybody was just working their ass off. And I was like, okay, so obviously there's an opportunity here. And that's I saw it through those eyes. I said, you know what, this is something I can do where I can come in right away. I don't have to put in 5 or 10 years to, ascend the ladder. I can come in, and if I work my butt off, I'm going to get a lot of business. And that's what happened. So I just saw the opportunity, because a lot of people ask me that same question. And really, it's just, I did a little bit of research and said, you know what, I can come in this space and make noise right away. And I know the way I am in my personality style and just the way I am as a person, I knew I would not only start getting business right away, but I would attract a lot of attention. And since I know real estate is a lot about image and, what you put out there, your brand, I was like, man, I can come in here and just really, shake things up, which is what I'm doing. And I've loved every minute of it. Yeah,
no, I love it, dude. And you talk about being obsessed and focused on mastery, and you're right. It's one of the hardest things when you get into real estate is the heavy amounts of mediocrity that surrounds us. There's just so much of that. But the blessing in it is nobody else is committed to that same level. So once you commit like you did, dude, it's so easy to go out there and dominate and become that rock star in 6 months. You don't have to be doing this for years. So, okay, so you get in the business, you see this opportunity, you jump in. The stat today, I think, is like 90% of realtors fail in their first 3 years. Yeah. Right? So, I mean, you haven't been in 3 years yet, but you're doing some amazing things. I mean, there's no way that you're going to do nothing but continue to succeed at a high level. So let's kind of walk in there. Like, what did you do in your first year, or at least your first few transactions? Like, how did you get out there and create that business?
Right. Great question. I consider myself a really great student. And in the background of basketball, I knew, okay, for me to be successful, whether it's real estate or not, I need to find people that are already doing really well and pick their brain. So in the process of me getting my license, at my office, I was fortunate to have some top producers there. So I just started taking them out to lunch and picking their brain because I wanted to set up a plan to succeed based on success. So I started interviewing these agents and saying, you know what, I'm new, I'm hungry, I'm going to do whatever it takes. What do I need to do to be successful? So it was almost like monkey see, monkey do. They gave me the information. I said, okay, even if I don't like doing it, I'm going to do it. Because I made the commitment and said, look, even if they tell me to scoop up dog poop every day and eat it, and that's going to make me money, I'm going to do it because I'm that dedicated. Like, I had no plan B. It was plan A, I make it, or I make it. No other option. Okay? And that's pretty much what I did. So when I started, I hit the ground running. I got a transaction under my belt actually the day that I got my license because a buddy of mine wanted to buy a home. I ended up doing the transaction with someone else's license, but mine came through like a day before the closing, and we switched and we put it under mine. So I always make that joke. I was like, yeah, I literally did a deal the first day I got my license. So we do that, and I just started prospecting. I mean, you were in the trenches with me probably right when you started too, just on the phone, on the door. I found right away that the door was really where I was going to excel. I have a lot of energy. I'm very, I'm always upbeat. So face-to-face with me, I knew it was going to be strong right away, but I wanted to reach more people as well. So I just started banging the phone. My first 3 deals were on the phone, and they were just very easy. I called somebody, like, hey, I want to sell. I put it together. I double-ended the first deal, made like 20 grand off of it, and it just snowballed from there. But without getting into too much detail, basically, I just took what top agents were doing, what they told me when they started, and what was successful for them. So instead of me having too much trial and error, all I did was I took their advice and I just applied it without questioning it and without doing anything else. That's all I did.
Yeah, no need to recreate the wheel, man, right? Just follow those that pay that path before us. So when you talk about door hanging, when you talk about door knocking, I mean, what are you going after? You going after expires, you going after FSBOs? What did that look like?
Everything. Our market right now has been since I started, it's really low inventory. So finding those expires and FSBOs, it's far in between. I do get them when I do contact them, but there's so few. If I only focused on new expires and for sale by owners and even some old ones, I'd prospect for an hour and I'd be done or less. So another thing I did was I started just doing the random doors. And from my coach, Kevin Ward, we got this hot market script. And I said, man, this thing is awesome. Because most people, when they see a realtor, they think, he just wants to see if I want to sell my home and that's it. But with this approach, I was giving value. And that's what I'm all about. I want to give people value so they give me back some of their time. And that's all I need. If I can talk to somebody for 30 seconds, I got them. Okay? So I took the script and I ran with it. And what I started doing was I noticed every day I was adding all these people into my database, my personal circle, which is what I call it. So I'm getting 2, 3, 4 cell phones and emails and addresses a day. And I said, man, if I do this for a year, I'm going to be able to leverage off this like crazy. And that's basically what I'm doing, because now, fast forward 2 years later, I have I think 450 people in my personal circle. And I'm getting referrals like crazy now because that 2 or 3 minutes that I spoke to them, I established myself as that sharp, funny professional. So when anybody thinks about real estate now, they think about me. Because when I make that connection with people, they get calls from me, emails. I started mailing them something once a month. A lot of them have me on Facebook, and I'm posting every week. Sold, sold, sold. So guess what? When I contact these people, they already associate me with being a top producer. Even though if you look at the numbers, I'm not even selling 100 homes yet, or 300 a year like you, or I'm sure you're doing more now. But basically, my whole thing was just get these people, and I'm going to position myself so when they are ready to sell or buy or know someone that is, I'm their go-to person. And I can tell you lately, I've been getting so many referrals, I almost can't keep up with it. And I know most agents that you probably talk to that have been in the business 1, 2, 3 years aren't getting that many referrals yet. They're still chasing, which I still do. But I want to position myself so in the next year or two, I can make that transition where I'm only talking to people I know and getting more than enough business just from that avenue.
Okay, so just to paint a picture of, because I don't want people, I think people don't always understand. They might go knock on a few doors, get rejected, and be like, oh, well, man, maybe Bryan's just in a better area. He's just, people resonate him. I mean, let's go through your rejection numbers, because I want to give our listener base an idea of, how many no's does it really take to get a yes? Because I mean, you get these yeses, you're getting 3 or 4 a day that are receiving it well, but I'm sure you also get people like, dude, get the hell off my doorstep, and screaming at you too.
Yeah. I tell people a lot, because you do get the assholes, like we call them. I mean, you get that, but honestly, that's far in between. I would say if I talk to 100 people, if 2 or 3 are very rude to me, that surprises me. It's usually 1 in 100. Now, another thing I tell people, a tip is, look, you get what you expect. If you go up to a door being kind of nervous, shy, timid, and scared, people will feed off your vibe. And I'm sure you've been out there, Josh, when you talk to somebody and they're already kind of giving you a nervous energy, it already makes you feel uncomfortable. So I tell people the first thing you need to handle is yourself. You need to check your mindset and your state of mind before you hit that first door, which I still do. I take 2, 3, 4 minutes when I'm outside of my car before the first door to check my mentality, my state of mind, because I think that's the most important thing that a lot of people overlook. They just say, hey, I'm going to knock on 100 doors. I'm going to talk to 30 people and one of them is going to say yes. And that is the case. However, if you have a better expectation and your state of mind is strong, you're going to do better. Because I know a lot of people who just knock, 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 and they don't get any results. So going back to your question, I would say every hour, so out of every 10 to 12 people I talk to, I get one great connection where I get their number, regardless if they're going to sell now or in 6 months or a year. If somebody tells me at some point in the future they're going to move, whether it's next week or in 3 years from now, I'm going to extract that contact information. Because sometimes I even ask people straight up at the door, honestly, before I leave, how many realtors have knocked on your door in the last couple of years? And they tell me in like 2, 3 years, maybe 1, 2, or 3. And like you said, this is called the competitive market. That surprises me. As soon as I started hearing that, man, it really just made a shift in my mind. So I would say 1 out of every 10, I get a great connection. But if I really push for it, probably 1 out of every 4 or 5 people, I can get their information for sure.
Yep, awesome. So, and I love your approach, because you're not going up there, you're not just saying, knocking on their door saying, hey, you want to sell with me today. You're offering value, you're offering, it sounds to me like a market evaluation report, or a report they receive every single month with stats, with some area information. Yeah. So you're focusing on building that long-term human connection. What are you using for a database, dude? Because, when we look at databases, in this business, your number one asset is your connection with your sphere of influence. Or it becomes such an important tool. It gets so overlooked in this industry, dude. Yeah, what do you do for that? And then and not with you having to give it all away, but once you get them in there, what does that follow-up process look like? Because we know the fortune's in the follow-up.
Yeah. Okay. If I get a lead, I'll break it down into 2 sections. If I get a lead, I have 3 folders. I have a hot lead folder, a warm lead folder, and an appointment folder. If I make that first contact and an expired or FSBO and they're ready, I put them in the appointment folder. A hot lead is somebody who told me, or they expressed the interest that they're going to sign a contract with me in the next week. And a warm lead would be 30 days, in the next 30 days. More than 30 days, they automatically go into my database. My database, I use Realty Juggler. I basically put all their information in there. I use a website called Constant Contact to do my emails. I email them twice a month. One email will be the market update, which I explain to them at the door. And it's basically divided into cities and zip codes. So, because I know most people aren't going to go through the email and read everything. They're going to scroll down to where their area is, look at the information, see it, okay, and then move on. So I have that, and then I do a featured listing email once a month as well. So any new listings that I get, I'll usually feature one. And the funny thing is some people that I've listed off my database will tell me, hey, are you going to put me in the featured listing email? So it's pretty cool that they're actually, following that. Other than that, they get a piece of mail from me once a month, which is just the same little generic postcard. If somebody watching would like to get a picture of it, I'd be happy to send it. Nothing crazy. And I have 3 teams when it comes to my database, which I got from my coach, Kevin Ward. I have an A team, which are either past clients or people that I call my raving fans. I call them and make contact with them once a month. B teamers, I call and make contact with once every quarter. Okay, so that's 4 times a year. And a C team is maybe a guy or somebody who I met at an open house or out that never really answers my calls, doesn't really, we don't have that great of a connection, but I have their email and their contact information. That's a C teamer. So I'll keep them in there, but I won't call them. I'll just keep emailing them. And I've actually had somebody from my C team that I added a year and a half ago reach out to me recently and I listed their house.
Yep. That's awesome, brother. Love it, dude. So from what you're telling me right now, it looks like, you're out prospecting 3 to 4 hours a day to get those 3 to 4 people in your database. But you're doing, what are you on track to do, 40, 50 deals this year?
Yeah, I'll probably finish just under 40, I believe. I'm getting a big wave now, so I might actually push higher than that, but I'm guessing I'll probably somewhere around the 40 range, yeah.
So you're closing 4 or 5 deals a month, and you're in a good price point. Average price point's $500,000 plus. But you're out prospecting 4 hours a day. What agents have a problem with is, or we see so frequently, is they have this roller coaster because they get busy servicing those 4 or 5 deals a month. They stop doing the prospecting. How do you manage your time to ensure that you don't, you're not riding that crazy real estate roller coaster?
Yeah, and it's funny you said that because that happened to me up front. I kind of prepared myself mentally, but it actually ended up happening to me. There's basically 2 things. One, I'm very strict with my schedule. I tell people, look, in the morning between 7:30, 8, and 12, I'm out prospecting. I tell my sellers that, you won't reach me at that time, but I'll get to you after that because that's when I'm out selling your home and basically generating more business. So my schedule is literally just set in stone. That morning block, I just set everything up around me to ensure that I prospect. That's basically it. Now, as far as the team aspect, I've begun to leverage my girlfriend, Loida, who is on my channel too, and she's part of my team. She's handling my buyers, my sign calls, and basically anything that has nothing to do with me prospecting or going after a listing. She's handling that for me now. All the calls get routed to her off the signs. That alone saves me a bunch of time because or else my phone would be ringing every 30 minutes. With that in place, I also have another friend who I'm bringing on named Eric. He just got his license. I'm going to train him to list with me as well, because I have a lot more leads coming in and I need that. Besides that, I have a transaction coordinator, and I love my broker. I'll give her a shout out to Annalyn. She's basically like my assistant, man. She is hands-on on all my deals, and it's great. So will everybody have a broker that, is basically their assistant? I doubt it, but I have that in place right now. So the assistant role is taken care of. So basically I've just leveraged out, and that's really what's helped me focus on, because I want to just focus on prospecting, negotiating contracts, and getting listings and going on appointments. That's it. And I've noticed the more I let go, because that was my issue, is I wanted to micromanage everything and be so hands-on. The minute I started trusting other people and putting good hires in place, it made things so much easier because I don't have to work 12 hours a day. I still work hard, but if I really wanted to, I could probably get away with working 6 hours a day and continue my production. Absolutely. I could probably work from 8 a.m. until 2, be done, and I'd be fine. I'd still be doing 3, 4, 5 deals a month, I guarantee you.
Yep, dig it, dude. Yeah, trust equals capacity for sure, brother. Yep. So what point did you bring on your first assistant? Who sounds like it's your, well, you had your broker, then your girlfriend there. But what kind of a point did you get to in your career before you're like, holy crap, if I don't do something, I'm going to be at this glass ceiling?
Right. Happened pretty early on. I started like end of July, August of 2013. By November, I knew I had to do something. I got to a point in November where I had 5 or 6 pending, and I said, you know what? There's so many things going on. I need help. I had a transaction coordinator from the beginning. It was a different one than I have now, but honestly, she wasn't doing her job. So I thought immediately like, oh wow, TC is not the way to go. So by January, February, I had a new TC, and I brought on my girlfriend. So within, I would say, 6 months of getting into the business, I had that in place. Now, my issue, like we said before, was I was still kind of holding on. It took me another month and a half to really start letting go. But when I did, my business exploded. By May, I had just gotten a wave because my first quarter was kind of weak, which was my fault. I had 5 or 6 pending. I got a little lazy. But long story short, I learned my lesson because I think I had 50 or 60,000 worth of escrows fall out in January. And that really, it hit me hard. So I recovered from that, and I just started getting waves. I can remember in 1 month getting 7, 8 listings just from prospecting. I was like, wow, this is crazy. However, that did not happen until a month after I really leveraged. So that's basically what it took me. It took me 6 months, probably 8 months to really leverage out a little bit and, learn my lesson.
So what do you do, dude, to stay so focused, to continue pushing? For example, good is the worst enemy of greatness, right? So you got so many people that things start getting good, they get comfortable, and they stop pushing. And you're a dude that's wants to continue leveling up, that's got some massive goals. What do you do day in and day out, dude, to stay inspired, to stay motivated, to keep pushing at the level that you do?
Great question. There's so much I do, but one of the main things is I'm always I've set big goals and I'm constantly reevaluating them. Are you a car guy, Josh? Do you like cars? Okay, well, I got a GTR. I don't know if you know what car that is.
Yeah.
That was a big goal for mine, but about 3 weeks before I bought the car, I already knew I was getting it. I already set the next goal. So I have 4 or 5 goals going all the time, and they're so big and heavy, it doesn't really allow me any time to slack off. Because if I want a mansion, in Orange County by the beach, it's going to cost me a few million. I can't really get lazy when it comes to prospecting because I have these big goals. Same thing with my car. I've set myself in a position where massive action is necessary. Anytime I set a new goal, I tell everybody. I post it on my Facebook. I make a video about it, put it on YouTube. I'm basically setting up my environment to make me act. And besides that, I journal every day, every morning and every night before I go to sleep. I have a vision board. I out loud say my goals every single morning, looking at myself in the eyes in the mirror. I mean, it's just this constant focus. And that's really what I tell people. It's one word, it's focus. If you really break down my day, like if you were to spend my day with me, you would see or hear my goals at least a dozen times a day. So it's so in front of me, and what you focus on expands. And I'm starting to see that over the last 2 years. Everything I've really wanted up to this point, I've gotten and more because I focus on it. And I think people will set these goals, they'll put them away in the shelf, and they won't look at them the rest of the year. And I tell them either they're not important to you or you're not keeping your eye on them. When you keep your eye on them, you're talking about it, you're writing it, you're telling everybody. I mean, you're just creating this. Because I tell people, look, I believe in the laws of the universe, and I'm attracting all this abundance. But again, it goes back to what we were saying. I'm putting in the work. I'm focused on them. I'm writing them every day. I'm looking at them every day. I'm telling myself every day. I'm telling everybody around me. And the same people when I started that said you're crazy are now telling me, what you were talking about works, because obviously you're manifesting that. So it's just a combination of a lot of things. But I would say the number one, if I could just boil it down to one word, it would be focus. You need to set those goals and set up that accountability around you, and then just focus on it 24/7. Because even if I don't feel that motivated, I guess you can say, during the day, when I look at my goal and say it again, I'm like, man, I got to get off my butt and get to work.
Yep. So was this something that you learned getting into real estate, or was this something that you learned in your basketball career, or leading into that, just that same level of focus and the goal setting and that routine?
Basketball had a lot to do with it, honestly. However, the biggest thing over the last 2 years is when I got into real estate, I really started getting into self-improvement. And I remember being younger and thinking it was lame, but the minute I started reading and just working on myself as an individual, my whole life changed. I'm reading minimum a book, sometimes 2 a week now, on different subjects like communication, NLP, the mind, millionaires, billionaires, and social dynamics, which I'm very big on. I've studied a lot, especially recently in the last year, just men and women and just human interaction, because we're in a business of people. So I figure if I become an expert at just conversating with people and dealing with them, man, my business is going to explode. And I've been seeing that advantage lately, because if I go after these expires and FSBOs and they're interviewing 6 agents, lately I've been the clear winner. And I know it's because I put in my time. So it just really, it becomes mastery of self-mastery. And I think the more people learn about themselves and just get this knowledge that's out there, because it's all out there. I mean, with YouTube, with books, I mean, you can get so much knowledge, it's crazy. And that's really what I've been doing. And I could really attribute my success for that. And it became from me making the switch to really saying, okay, instead of just coasting through life, to really hitting it hard. I probably read and do self-improvement at least 2 hours a day. And that's really what's taken me over the top, because that's what's taught me to focus on my goals, to journal, to do these affirmations, to find people like AJ, who you interviewed, and Colton, who found me on YouTube. And it just pretty much created this environment of success. So if I could attribute it, it would be definitely to self-improvement, absolutely.
Yep, no, I love it, dude, love it. Yeah, it's like Jim Rohn says, or said, all leaders are readers, and it's one thing that you have in common from anybody that's uber successful that you go out there and research and study, man. They're all so strict on their self-development. So I love it, dude. So I know you mentioned that you're reviewing your goals multiple times a day, but how do you personally set your goals? To make sure that you're not getting comfortable, to make sure that you're doing that. I mean, what kind of a strategy do you do for goal setting?
Well, the first thing I do, and I think a lot of people don't understand this, is I make sure that every goal I set is from me. One of the issues I think people have is they're setting goals where there's a chain attached to somebody else. And I think that's a big deal, because that's where they'll lose motivation, because that goal really isn't theirs. Like, I want to go to this college. So I asked them, that's great if you want to go to college, but do you really want to go to college, or is that mommy and daddy telling you? Yep. And I think it's a very big datum that people miss. So with me, I remember when I started, I took probably like a Sunday where I just sat there with myself, started putting down some goals. The first thing I did was I checked, are these my goals or is this attached to somebody else? After I did that, what I did was I started visualizing what would my ideal life be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and 20 years from now. And I started just small chunking it from there. I said, okay, in 20 years, I would like to have X, Y, Z. And I visualized it. And I started breaking down my goals. When I got back to 1 year, and I set that goal for a year, I started breaking it down per month. And I think, I guess the term would be reverse engineering. I think that's what people need to do with their goals to really have it materialize easier. Because people will set a goal, let's say they want to do 1 million GCI, they'll just slap it up there, but they don't have a plan to get there. So I think the big thing with goals is to put a date by it, make it specific, and then reverse engineer from there. So when I put up that I wanted to make 1 million GCI, I broke it down, what am I going to have to do every month, every week, every day to reach it? And the minute I got to every day, I was like, dude, I can do this. This is easy. But that's the step people miss. They don't put a date, number one, and number two, they don't reverse engineer it and break it down to like the smallest, most ridiculous number. I was like, man, if I talk to 30 people every day, I'll be a millionaire. I can do that. But if you just leave 1 million up there, you're like, oh man, it's kind of big. And if you're really not thinking on that level yet, it becomes impossible. So I think that's what people need to do. Set a date and then really reverse engineer down to what they have to do every day. And that will make the goal seem a lot more achievable than if you just slap it up there and, make it shine. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, I dig it, dude. Love it, man. So what do you do to stay focused, right? To stay positive, I call it the mediocrity vortex, that just exists out there. There's so much mediocrity just in the world. Like the average human being hears and sees today 25,000 negative things, only 2,000 positive. Like what do you do to block out that negativity, block out negative people from your world, to make sure that you're just staying focused on that goal?
Right. One of the main things is I cut out a lot of things like the news. I don't read the newspaper. Like my Facebook, because I know a lot of people are on Facebook. Anytime I see somebody post something negative, I remove them as a friend. I just basically put everything in place to keep positive things in front of me, because what you said is absolutely true. Radio, TV, media, everywhere you look, negative. I go to the gym, the news is playing on the TVs. So basically what I do is I do little things like I'll turn off my phone when I prospect. So most of the time until noon, when I wake up until noon, my phone is off. So I'm just basically putting things in place to make it easier. And social media is so huge, and that's one of the main filters that I have is if I go on my social media, dude, I see so much positive, it's unbelievable. Because I have people on there that are not only doing big things, but think just like me.
Yep.
So I've surrounded myself with these people, and when I just click on Facebook for a minute, and I see all these motivational posts like, hey, I'm out here grinding, hey, and they're just posting Jim Rome, like all these guys, I'm like, man, if I just need that little bit of inspiration, I just go to my Facebook or I go to my library. So basically, if I could give somebody in a nutshell, it's set yourself up to eliminate those things. Make it easy on yourself. Filter your social media. Don't watch the news. Those kind of things, because that's ultimately what's going to keep you in that positive, focused mindset.
Yep. Dig it, dude. Dig it, man. So one thing that you were talking about before we hit the record button here when you and I are chatting on before we started was the importance of staying true to yourself, to being authentic, to be genuine, to just be you, dude, when you show up in the marketplace. Talk about that. Talk about what that means, how you include that in your business, and how it's had an impact on you.
Wow, that's a really deep question. I love it. Well, one of the things I struggled with when I was younger was I felt like I had to be different people in certain situations. I felt like I couldn't be myself. And one of the things I've learned, within the last 2 years is be yourself, because that alone will be a differentiating factor between me and everybody else. It's just being myself. So in essence, what I did was I just started putting my life out there, and that's how the YouTube started. And my Facebook really blew up. Was I just started saying, hey, this is me, like it or love it, I'm going to be me. And this is going to be my take on business. So what I did was every element of my life, I just started sharing it. This is me hanging out. This is me with my car. This is me with my friends. This is me going out. This is me in my business. I'm crushing it. And I just basically created this image, which now honestly has become my brand. And my initials, BC, has become my brand. And I've created credibility with it. There's so many things that go with it. But I'm basically telling the world, hey, this is me. This is Bryan. If you like me, great. If you don't like me, that's fine too. Just click delete. You know what I mean? And one thing I do with my business is I know through my studying that certain things work and certain things don't. Okay? for example, my style is very, compared to the average real estate agent, flashy. I like fancy cars. I wear bright colors with my suits. That alone, on the fashion side, I stand out. I'm very outspoken. I mean, these are things that I put into my marketing that are very obvious. Like if you put me in a room of 30 realtors, 100 realtors, 500 realtors, I guarantee you're going to be able to notice me over everybody else.
Yep.
Guarantee you, just on image. So for me, that's very big because the way my image is outside of real estate is the same way. So I said, you know what? I'm going to be transparent. And that's one thing in my business that makes a huge difference. But the most important thing I can tell people is, look, if you're not true to yourself, when you put your head down on the pillow at night, you're not going to rest easy because you're not being true to yourself. And I tell people the number one contract that should never be broken is you with you.
Yep.
If you're lying to yourself, you're lying to other people, believe me, it catches up with you. And when you're sleeping, you don't feel good about yourself. When you're outside in front of people, you don't carry yourself with that same presence than if you were just being yourself. And that's one of the main things I can attribute to my successes. When I walk into a seller's house or clients meet me, they say, man, immediately I knew you were different, and I felt that presence of confidence, of certainty. And that's what you want as a real estate agent, because if you're going around and people don't like you or trust you, you're not going to get any business. But if you have that X factor that's like, man, this guy, he's the one, that's ultimately what's going to put you over the top. And I feel like just all these elements have really helped me create and mold myself into that figure that's powerful in business and just powerful in life in general.
Now, have you ever had anybody that didn't do business with you or told you, hey, I'm not going to do business with you, Bryan, because I checked out your YouTube channel, I just don't agree with your style?
I've had one, but I said that's fine. I tell them I'm not for everybody. I tell that to even people I meet. I'm not for everybody. But like I told you, I'll take the praise just like I'll take the negativity. The praise is great, but I don't hold on to it, because if I hold on to praise, I'm gonna have to hold on to the negativity too.
Right.
So I'm very neutral to it. And do I know that I might miss business? Absolutely. But I know at the end of the day, I can sleep with myself, and that overall I'm going to get more business for being myself than putting on this fake persona that's business, then a different one in life, and then a different one with my family. And I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So I would much rather be transparent. And because I tell people, look, my business isn't for everybody, and that's fine with me. I've accepted that, and I know that everybody being themselves will probably rule out a certain percentage of people just because maybe you don't click with a client and I do, or vice versa. So I know it's just part of the game.
Yep. So one thing I like about you do with your business is it's not, it's kind of old school prospecting, and nothing can be in your face prospecting anyway, right? But a lot of people, your average real estate agent is 47 years old. And a lot of people have this limiting belief of, they can't make it or be successful in today's world because they don't know some online, ninja tactic to generate massive amounts of leads. But you're a young dude that's chosen to really not even, you're using your Facebook, your social media of friends and doing some YouTube, but it's not like you're going out there doing ninja lead generation tactics. You're old school prospecting style based.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of elaborate on that, dude. What within your business, I know you're going after circle prospecting essentially. Is that really all of your business, and then now it's building up in referrals? What other types of prospecting are you doing right now that's really working very well in your business?
Good question. The number one thing I want to say first is, let's say you were generating leads online or sending mailers. At the end of the day, you're still going to have to pick up the phone or meet them face to face. And if you haven't been prospecting and you don't have those skills, you're going to lose the business. So you spent all that money and time generating those leads, but you can't convert them. And that's the disparity I see. So I figured, I can do that stuff later to add on to what I'm doing. But I knew from all these top guys that I interviewed that are either still prospecting or did way back in the day that are now getting referrals, they said, if you want to be successful, prospect. You have to do it. There's no way to get around it. That's kind of why I went that way. But for somebody asking, I would say, you know what I'm doing the phone, I'm doing the doors for circle prospecting, expireds for sell by owners, and now I'm doing my database heavily. I haven't really gotten into probate or foreclosures or anything like that. My main three sources are just the straight up cold calling expireds and for sell by owners, door knocking them, and then just circle prospecting both over the phone and at the door. Am I getting those immediate 1-2 deals from the expireds and FSBOs? Yes, but overall I would say probably half my business is from the accumulation of circle prospecting, whether they're ready now or I get them later from them being in my database. Because like I told you earlier, that's that long-term approach I'm looking for, because I know eventually it's going to get to the point where I'm getting 5, 7, 8, 10 deals a month just from people I've met and made a connection with. And that's really what it's all about.
Yep, love it, dude. So, being an ex-professional athlete and, just being on video here with you, I can tell that you're a dude that's in pretty epic shape, man, and you take care of yourself. How important is your health to you, to your business? How do you think it plays a role? What does that look like?
And it's crucial. It's one of the most important elements, because if you don't take care of yourself, I tell people, look, I would never respect somebody or do business with somebody who can't even take care of themselves. That's one of the laws I live by. Because if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of me as a customer? I'm sure you see it. You go to the gym and all the trainers are 300 pounds.
Yep.
To me, that it's like, how can I take your advice? I feel like you're not qualified to give me workout advice. That's kind of a off example, but in essence, if I didn't eat correctly, I probably wouldn't have the energy that I have. I would have to sleep way more. I wouldn't feel great. The reason I'm doing so well is I have an abundance of energy. Like when I get in front of a client, one of the main things they tell me, whether they use me or not, is like, you know what, dude, I love your energy. You're just awesome to be around. And we just soak up all your positivity. If I didn't eat right and exercise, I probably wouldn't have that, because I'd be, down on myself. I'd be having that 2 p.m. coffee, which honestly, I don't even drink coffee. I don't need it because I have enough energy as it is. So it's absolutely vital. And I think people who have not been on it and been eating incorrectly and not exercising have become so used to that they don't realize the difference. Because when I tell people, hey, get on that health kick for even a week or two, they tell me they see such a big improvement in their energy levels and how they feel that motivates them to keep going. So I would say it's probably top 3 for crucial elements, absolutely, besides like mindset and those kind of things. Because if you don't take care of your body, that's your tool. We have to speak to people. We have to go door to door. We have to pick up the phone. We have to, feel good about ourselves. And I noticed another thing is when people eat incorrectly, it plays with their mind a little bit. When I eat correctly, get a good amount of sleep, I'm sharp. I'm not thinking negatively, thinking positively, and I'm just on my stuff. I'm way more sharp. So I absolutely think that's one of the most underlooked factors is health. Absolutely.
Yeah, plus it makes those suits look damn good, dude.
Right. With the athletic fit, you gotta look good.
Yep. No, people look at me now, and I don't actively sell anymore. But when I was selling, I was a huge believer. Do you always play the part? You play the role. You play the part. I had 3-piece suits for 8 years straight, dude. So I hear you. Dude, are you getting some bad feedback on the call?
No.
Okay. It could be just mine. Okay, so before we jump in, I've got a couple last questions for you, but before we jump in there, how do people reach you, Bryan? How do people learn more about you? You've talked about your YouTube channel, you've talked about your social media. How do our listener base reach out to you, to be able to follow you, check out some of your content? If they have a follow-up question for you, how would they get a hold of you?
Sure. I'm accessible at all avenues. I'll even give you guys my cell phone, my YouTube. I believe it's /Bryan Argentina. That's where my family's from, so I just went with that name with my YouTube. If you just look at my name on YouTube, you'll find my channel. Facebook, I have a lot of friends. I'm near my max limit for Facebook friends, but you're welcome to add me or message me. That's perfectly fine. I'm on Instagram. I'm all over the place. Twitter. My cell phone, I'll even give it out. It's area code 626-428-2784. That's my direct line. Am I going to answer you in the morning? No, I'm prospecting, but probably sometime in the afternoon I'll get back to you.
Yeah, love it, dude. That's awesome, brother. All right, dude. So let's say something happens and you get financially wiped out. Like you're having to start all over. Now health's good, family's good, everything's good. You've retained this mindset that you've learned. You've got this PhD in entrepreneurship and real estate, all this stuff that you've learned. But again, you're financially wiped out, so little or no money. What are the first 2 or 3 things that you would immediately go and start doing to rebuild what you built right now?
Assuming we stay in real estate, right?
Yep.
Okay. Number 1, all the connections I have, that database is probably worth millions of dollars. The first thing I would do, I would visit them at the door and I would call them all. Because I guarantee you, if I call them all in that first week, I would probably get 1 or 2 deals from it right off the bat, if not more. That would be the first thing I do. Second one is I would start aligning myself again. I'm assuming we're starting from 0. I'm going to start aligning myself again with all these top agents. Get them on my radar, and probably number 3 to get out there, really hunt those expireds and for sale by owners, because I think people do it, but they don't do it at a high enough level. Like if I just call an expired for sale by owner once, visit them once at the door, that's not the same. And the story I want to give related to this is there's an expired I actually listed recently for 7%, and they wouldn't answer the phone. I literally went to their house probably 13 or 14 times before they decided to interview me. But in the process, everyone else fell off. So in the end, I'm like, you know what? We're only going to interview you. You were so persistent. This is what we're going to need to sell the house. They were on the market for a year, didn't sell. I sold it in 3 days. So, I know those opportunities are there. So that would be probably the last thing I would do, is just go for them, because my persistence is unbelievable. I even tell people up front. Oops. Hold on. Cool. You there?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I guess I got a call. I tell people, look, you've expressed to me that you're interested in selling. One of two things is going to happen. You're either going to hire me or interview me, or you're going to tell me, you know what, we decided not to do it. Until I hear you tell me you don't want me to call you anymore, or that you're not going to do anything, you're probably going to hear from me a lot. And I kind of set myself up for that. And a lot of people in the end that do take, that 5, 6, 7, 10 calls, always tell me, you know what, dude, I did not forget that. Out of all the agents, you stuck out to me the most because you told me that. So at the end of the day, that would be the third thing I would do, is go after those expires at FSBOs, because my first couple deals, my first 3 deals, my first month were expires at FSBOs. I just happened to get them. I had one expired recently. I knocked on their door, walked out 40 minutes later with a signed listing agreement, had another FSBO that I talked to within 24 hours. I listed them. So those opportunities are still out there. I think people just overlook them, or they're not persistent enough.
Dig it, dude. Love it, man. So GSD podcast, the purpose of these interviews are to go out there and inspire, but not just give motivation, inspiration, but also tactical information, tactical knowledge to go out there and go create that epic life. I mean, you got amazing cats like you that are out there doing big things, that are choosing to create the life that you want. What are maybe some last words, parting words of advice, inspiration, motivation that you want to leave our listener base with to go out there and create their own epic life?
Well, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is, whatever you decide to go for in entrepreneurship or business, and the universe is going to test you, believe me, you need to be 100% committed. Because if I got on here with Josh for the next hour and went through some of the stories and hardships that I had, that is why I feel I deserve to be in the position I'm in today, was because I was willing to go through it, and I made it through it, and I pushed through it. You as an entrepreneur will be tested beyond what you believe, especially if you want to make it big. I mean, it's going to be tough. I'm letting you know now. So I tell people, if they tell me they want to get in the business, how many times are you willing to fail? That's one of the questions I ask them. Are you willing to fail 1,000 times before you actually succeed? And a lot of them will look at me funny, but I tell people that's almost a requirement. So you need to be so committed that you'll be willing to go through anything. And that's the biggest, because I tell people, look, if you're willing to go through that, you'll make it. It's just a matter of time. The question is are you really, really willing to go through that? So if I could give them a tip, it would be that. Really check yourself and make sure you're 100% committed, no matter what.
Yep, I love it, dude. I absolutely love it, brother. So, and to our listener base out there, I know I end every single podcast with this, but information without implementation is the start of delusion. So you just heard from a dude, he's only been in the business a couple years, that's killing, that's doing massive things, that's going to continue to do some huge, massive things. I'm really excited to see what your future unfolds to be, dude. So take some information, take some of the information you got today, start implementing, start taking action, go out there and create that epic life that you know you want, that you deserve. And Bryan, dude, it's been a massive honor. Thank you so much for being on the show, my friend. This has been a great time, dude.
Appreciate you having me, man. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Well, you guys go dominate, and we will talk to you really soon.
All right, guys.